Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another STAMPtember exclusive limited edition. Today's stamp set is from Gina K Designs. There are several options for you available. Stamp set only, stamp and sentiment dies, stamp and image dies, or the whole kit and caboodle. So here is what all of that looks like. It is an amazing 6x8 stamp set. Gina's sets are super popular every year, so if you think you want it, run and get it and then come back and watch the video. We are going to start with this 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panel of Hammermill smooth cardstock. And this is a scene card that I had in my head, and it came to life really kind of how I imagined, which, you know, is rare. That doesn't always translate, but I will be honest, I thought about it for quite a few days before I actually dove in to the creation of this card. We are going to start inking the background with a little bit of the sky colored ink, and then we're going to take some dusk colored ink, and we are going to do a little mountain building. Now this, you could create your own mountains, or you can do what I did here, and I grabbed a stencil. This one happens to be from Fawn, and I want to build this background. I really want to create this serene forest scene with lots of trees and the mountains and the beautiful moon. And then we're going to have in the foreground of the card these deer and an additional tree, but that is very much closer to the viewer. And so I want everything off in the background to be like this nighttime scene, all in shades of blues, and just really give that sense of calmness and, like I said, serenity. So we're going to really just keep layering up this stencil. I do kind of move it to the left and the right to help build this mountain scene a little bit. And I'm going to ink most of the way down the panel, but not quite all the way. Now, I did start a little bit too low. That is okay, because I can cut off a little bit of that sky. I am going to be adding a border down near the bottom. The other thing I want to note about this particular card, it does not have it does not have much dimension to it. And that is something I don't do that often. So even though it doesn't have the physical dimension, we want to create that optical illusion of dimension. So I was looking at it and I was like, oh, I need another mountain, kind of off in the distance. I'm not even going to ink up my ink brush at all, my blending brush, inking brush, good grief. My blending brush, I just want to have those kind of off there in the distance. Okay, so once we have that built, we want to start stamping our trees. I'm going to place my background in my MISTI. I am using my sticky mat in here to help hold my paper in place. And I am going to be using these tall trees as well as the shorter ones. And we're going to do a lot of layering. And again, all with these shades of blue ink still. So I'm going to start here. And we're going to use the night color of ink. And we're going to stamp our trees there in the foreground. I'm going to clean my stamp, and we're going to keep moving it and adjusting and kind of building almost a curved edge visually, if you can kind of imagine that. So see how I shifted it down a little bit? So it's going to be higher on the side, kind of come down lower in the middle, and then come up along the right side. That was visually kind of what I was imagining as I'm building this. Again, I want to clean my stamp really well. I'm using a little bit of rubbing alcohol and the Simon Says Stamp microfiber cloths. And I'm going to just kind of I'm really trying to keep my sticky mat clean this time. If you've seen any of my previous craft mats and things I've had in here, they generally get stained. This one I'm sure will too, but I'm trying. And we're going to stamp this again in the night color of ink. So all of these were stamped in the night color of ink. Okay, we're going to clean this. We can put this stamp away, and we're going to get the shorter, squatter looking trees. Again, just building that dimension, building the forest scene. So let's go ahead and grab a couple of them. I think there's 4 different sizes. And it doesn't matter that right now it's going to look kind of funny that we're stamping these right here. It also looks like some of the tree trunks are floating in the sky. That's okay. Just trust the process. We're going to put some borders along the bottom edge, and we're never even going to notice that it's, you know, maybe stamped a little bit funny. Now, I originally thought, let's try charcoal ink. That was a huge fail. I have already inked my mountains. I've inked my background. I've stamped one whole border of trees. So instead of doing like taking it out and redoing it, I just re-inked them with some VersaFine Onyx black ink, and I immediately knew that was the right call. And so I'm going to, again, clean those stamps really well, and we're going to add more. So I'm going to grab some smaller ones now. These are the 2 smaller sizes, as well as one of the trees I just stamped. And again, I'm following that curve edge. I'm just kind of visualizing a curved edge. You'll notice it with the placement of the trees. And we're going to stamp those. And it is looking good. It's starting to look like a forest. I'm happy with this. Okay, we're going to wipe this clean. I am using a little bit of that rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle to clean those up. And I do want to stamp a couple of additional trees along the sides, hanging off of the sides. This just helps ground the entire scene that we're building. It makes it look like we are having this little glimpse or peek into this winter scene, and that the trees aren't just floating off into the distance. So I do want to add these trees on either side. And then we are going to spatter the entire background and create some snow. So I have a plastic spatter box here and a little bit of the Spellbinders white splatter, and I'm going to add a little water to it. I find it helps it move a little bit easier. Otherwise, it's a little too thick for me to be able to get it to really give me some nice droplets. And I am going to go over the top with my snow. I want this to look like a winter scene card. I want to look like this is out in the middle of the forest. The snow is falling. So I am going to kind of tap, and I'm going to keep tapping this until the entire thing is filled with my falling snow. And it is looking so good. Honestly, this right here, maybe trimmed up a little bit with a sentiment stamped over the top part of the card, would be incredible. Okay, we're going to set this aside to air dry while we stamp and die cut the rest of the images for our card. This is some nautical colored cardstock from Hero Arts. It's a really deep dark blue. When I was considering what I wanted to do for the animals and the things in the foreground of the card, I decided I didn't want to go the route where I stamp black silhouetted images on white cardstock, and then we're going to have this white border all the way around. I really wanted the border of the images to be dark, and so I just picked this nautical cardstock. Black would probably work as well, or another dark deep blue. And I'm going to ink up not only 3 of the deer and this tree with the little hanging birdhouse, but also one of the sentiments from the stamp set that says Warm Winter Wishes. We're going to ink those up with VersaFine, or pardon me, a clear embossing ink, and heat emboss with white embossing powder. And it's really critical, because this is on such a dark cardstock, that I want the entire surface area to be covered. I want a really good stamped impression so that when I place the embossing powder on it and heat set it, there aren't any light areas. Now I'm going to take my white embossing powder and we're going to tap this on everywhere. And we're going to heat emboss and then take the coordinating dies for this and die cut all of the images. And probably sounding a little bit like a broken record, this STAMPtember, but something I am loving that Simon Says Stamp has done this year is the dies for the sets are cutting so close to the images. They are cutting out all the little nooks and crannies. It's not a ton of surface area. So even where these two trees are so close together and it is a single die that cuts these out, it cuts in between those trees. It's going to give us a beautiful, beautiful die cut image. So I totally love that. We're just going to make sure I hit all of this with the heat tool. And the sentiments have those coordinating dies and they cut super close to the greeting. It's going to leave us with a really nice area so it's not just so teeny tiny. Now, because this die cuts so close and it's such a detailed die, take your time removing it from the cardstock. It was kind of sticking in there a little bit. It cut all the way through, but it has so many little nooks and crannies that you want to be really careful removing it. And I love that little blue edge. To me, it fades off into the blue of the background, and it's going to leave us with these lovely white, snowy silhouetted images. Now, the final thing we need for our, well, one of the final things we need is the moon that is going to be hanging in the sky and our snowdrifts along the bottom. And I thought that the snowdrifts along the bottom would help in, again, building the sense of scene on our card. And there's probably lots of different borders or snowy borders or landscape borders that you have in your stash that you can use for this. I decided to use the SLIMLINE SNOWBANKS, yes, dies from Simon Says Stamp for that. And we also need the moon. And the moon is a 2-piece stamp, but I'm only actually using the layering piece. And I did that because I stamped the flannel color of ink right on some Fog Lawn Fawn cardstock. And I felt like the Fog cardstock is the base color, if you will, in this instance. And then the layering for the moon is that flannel color. So it's going to be nice and subtle. I didn't stamp this on white. We're going to take the coordinating die and then die cut our moon. And of course, we've got our little snowbanks. I am going to place this panel on my card base, and I am going to probably adhere it where the top hangs off, and then I can just trim that away. Probably about 3/4 to an inch. It's in between there somewhere. And then along the bottom edge is where we're going to place our snowy borders. I did die cut 2 of them using both of the SLIMLINE SNOWBANKS because it's going to allow us to layer these really, really nicely. So let's flip our panel over and just take some scissors and trim away the border along the top. I could have trimmed it down ahead of time, but I didn't. So we're just going to use some nice long shears to snip that away. And instantly that transforms it. That's exactly what we needed for our card. And we're ready to start adhering things to the design. I'm going to put some glue on the back of my trees. And I am using the glue press for this. And just going to hold my border in place for now. And lay my trees down onto that background. And I am going to kind of slip my border underneath. It's a work in progress, and I like that. Okay, So we're going to die cut the other border. I'm just going to tape that down so it doesn't shift as I run it through my die cut machine. And we're going to glue the back border and this border in place. So the trees are in front of the back border and behind that border in the front. And that looks amazing. I love this. Okay, we are going to glue our moon down and our deer. And I did hang the moon off the top of the card. We'll just snip that away here in a little bit. And then we want to attach our deer family and our sentiment. Oh, it looks so good, you guys. You're going to love this set. Perfect, not only for holiday cards, but so many of the sentiments will just work all winter long. This card is not necessarily a holiday card at all. So I love that. I think the versatility is fantastic. So we're going to put our big deer, and then we're going to have the other two. Now I have a little smudge down near the bottom right of the card. I accidentally had some ink on my finger. I smudged my white cardstock. I was so mad. I am going to grab a sand eraser and I am going to get rid of that little ink smudge. I'm going to snip the top of the card, and that is it, my friends. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for the limited edition exclusive from Gina K. Don't forget to add a couple of little heart accents, of course. I did have to have a heart somewhere in this STAMPtember video. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for another STAMPtember 2024 video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye! Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel, click that like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new video. Thanks for watching!